Good Friday morning, A to Z Sports Nation. Hope everyone's having a great start to your day. I don't know, Nation, Nashville, good morning to whoever you are, wherever you are. We're excited that you're here. I'm Easton, he's JT, and Titans Kyle is already calling for me to get it together this morning. Not even sure what I'm up to, just wants me to get it together. So, all right, here we are.
Somehow he knew, though. So, I mean.
No, he didn't know. He didn't know anything. He didn't know anything. We're here when we expected to be here, and we're ready to rock and roll. Got a good show for you today on a did we ever get a nickname for what our Friday show is?
Phone it in Friday. I mean, there is no
Phone it in Friday.
There's no better apt description for today's show than a phone it in Friday based on when we are starting this show, based on the technical difficulties your computer has put us through this morning and whatnot. But I mean, that's the most apt description possible.
Well, we've got a big show for you today. So you hung around and you're going to get rewarded for it. We are glad that you're all here. We're talking Titans coaching searches, updates, a lot to get through. Some news yesterday on what the next stage of this is going to look like. Some news, we think, from this morning about one of the top candidates that we've been wondering whether they're going to interview or not. We'll be talking through that. We'll be talking through who we think is going to make the cut for the finalists that we think are going to move pretty quickly next week, to be honest with you. We'll talk about how that timeline is kind of evolving. And then we're going to go through some pros and cons on everybody's favorite flavor of the week, Mike McDaniel. Seems to be the favorite at this point if you consider Twitter to be the real world. People absolutely adore this man. There were more than one photo taken of him in the airport in Nashville.
I was going to say, are we going to start having BNA people, just like people just posted up at BNA, as Titans #Titans watch trackers?
I have agents and I have operatives working the ground in BNA at all times. Yes, and they did very well with the Mike McDaniel and the fashion of it all. There's a lot to unpack there. That we're probably not going to unpack, but it's interesting. Some choices were made. Frankly, I think it's stock up because I think if you have questionable fashion sense, then the odds of you being a ball knower are higher because that means you're married to the game. You know what I mean? So we'll talk about him. We'll talk about potential finalists and some news, and then we'll get out of here with some good news. JT, I know you've got some good news to share with us this Friday. So much good going on in your world, especially your fandom world these days. Your favorite sport of baseball is just a wonderful place to be right now. What a cool sport. I mean, just the best. We'll dive into all of that after JT tell everyone what they need to do.
Yeah, good morning. I wish it's just a morning for me because if it were a good morning, well, I wouldn't be living in this timeline with MLB baseball. But for all of you out there, I hope it is a good morning and I hope you get to share some good news later in the show. I will not be participating in good news. I am boycotting it. It is a terrible day in my world. Okay. I'm opting out of that part of my contract on a Phone It In Friday here. But for you guys, I want you guys to still have fun because we are here for you. And it's good to see all of you guys in the chat this morning. And like you said, we are moving pretty quickly on this coaching cycle. And I do believe that you are right. We're going to get to the end of this sooner rather than later. And it's going to pick up a lot of steam. And on a Friday here, no better time than to kind of put it out there and kind of get our finalist predictions here before the ball really gets rolling next week. Excited to do it all with you guys here in the chat. Need a couple things from you guys before we get started. First and foremost, if you're watching on YouTube, we appreciate you watching over there. Hit that like button. Make sure you're also subscribed. It does all the wonderful things that the algorithm provides for us to get this show on as many Titans fans feeds as possible. Things we do not understand, but as long as you hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed, it does that for us and it helps us out way more than you might think. If you're also watching on Facebook, we appreciate you guys over there as well. Make sure to hit that like button right now. We are sitting well below 50% on the like to viewership ratio over there on Facebook. Need that to get up. We need to get these likes up on a Friday. It's a Friday for most of you. Good news Friday. Not for me, but celebrate. We're almost to the weekend. We got divisional football coming up this weekend, and we're talking some Titans here. So hit us with a like. Make sure you like the show or like the page as well, and then hit that share button in the bottom right corner. Send the show to a Titans fan or friend in your life. And with that, Easton, let's get going.
Yep, let's get it started. Welcome into the A to Z Sports Morning Show, live weekday mornings here on the A to Z Sports YouTube channel. Appreciate everyone being here. We are powered, of course, by BTA Sports. We're live every day at 8:10 Central Time, streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links are tweeted out segment by segment on our Twitter feed at AtoZSports. You can also follow us on Instagram and TikTok for more great Titans coverage. Follow us on Google as well with the link that we'll send in the chat right now. All you have to do is click that link to make A to Z Sports one of your preferred sources of news when you are Googling anything. And so it helps us get our content in front of you, and it helps you get the content that you want in front of you. So it's a win-win. Go and click that link and follow today. Got to thank our sponsors for making the show happen and helping out you all at home. Wilson County Hyundai. Make Wilson County Hyundai a part of your new car buying process in Lebanon or at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedics and sports medicine, boneandjointtn.org. Barton Drury Insurance Group, customized solutions for all your insurance needs, local and online at bartondrury.com. And Window Nation, take advantage of January's Buy 4, Get 4 Windows free sale. You could get up to 0% financing for 2 years. JT, an amalgamation of comments this morning that are random.
I like this one as well. It's a Gen Z Friday.
Oh.
Guess what, boomers and Gen Xers? You get a Gen Z Friday this Friday. We're gonna start throwing slang terms that Austin didn't like or approve of yesterday. We're gonna start slinging them here on this show today.
TikTokify this thing. Hey, can we get some galaxies in the comments, please?
Can we get some roses?
I favorited some let's just get through some random comments here. Rice School. Easton still sounds and looks sick. I feel a whole lot better. It's ending. I think my week of sickness is over. I just am stuffy. I'm sure having spent time with Stillman did nothing good for herself. Well, that's true. The Surgeon General of the United States doesn't recommend that to anybody. Easton, please tell us that Shula will actually interview with us. We'll get to that here in just 1 second, so stick around. Any news on Kingsbury? We'll get to that in just 1 second, so stick around. Is that Easton Freeze of Stillman and Company infamy? I suppose so. Listen, he asked if I'd do a show yesterday, and I'm not a jerk, so I said sure. And it was a time. You should go listen to it. It was fun. Yeah, A to Z keeps firing people. I don't know what this is about. I'm wondering what happened to Sam Phelan. He got a different job. There's no conspiracy. He took a job covering baseball because he loves baseball. And Austin told him, get lost. Never come back here. Luke says, do we get Sam back for a few weeks if the MLB doesn't lock out? No, because there's no way Austin Stanley's going to allow any of A to Z stuff to be baseball content. But you might get like a Sam Phelan JT spinoff show. We could facilitate that potentially. 60 mil. Now we're talking full baseball. 60 mil. His AAV is higher than Shohei. Yeah.
We can save this.
In the good news, bad news segment, we will talk all about that. So stick around if you're here for the baseball talk.
Friday.
And then Dale Kirby says Easton was pretty good on Stillman. Thank you. They had good chemistry. No, thank you. Don't say that. Okay, let's dive into now that we've gotten all of the riffraff out of the way, I think. Let's dive into what our actual show is supposed to be about. And let's start with the news that we got yesterday, as I'm realizing that I forgot a step as we were scrambling to get the show started. I am now putting the graphic that we need in here. Paul Kaharski at paulkaharski.com yesterday. Oh, wait, they're already in there. You did it? Okay, my bad. Paul Kaharski at paulkaharski.com. He reported about the Titans finalists situation. So we know that January 19th, which is this upcoming Monday, is the embargo that is lifted on employed candidates being interviewed in person. Now, if you're still in the playoff, you may not do in-person interviews. So there will be 4 teams after this weekend who still can only do Zooms. But everybody else that is employed by a team currently, up until now, has only been able to do 3-hour Zooms mandated by the NFL at specific times. They would be able to come in for in-person interviews. So it's when pretty much all of the teams, the other 8 teams looking for coaches, are going to start hot and heavy on their round 2 in-person interviews. And probably I would suppose that the hirings start coming down in a flurry next week. I'd bet the majority, if not all of them, are handled next week before the Senior Bowl. And really, I think the only thing that will stop anybody from making their hire would be if somebody's preferred handshake, wink-wink candidate is still in the playoff. So with that being said, here's what Paul Kaharski said. in a column. When the Titans trim their list of 18 candidates, we'll get to that in a second because I don't think that list is accurate anymore, that number, and move forward to a second round of interviews next week, they expect to talk to 3 or 4 finalists. It will be 5 tops. Those conversations with coaches employed by the NFL teams can start Monday, though any still in the playoffs cannot meet in person. And he also aggregated the in-person schedule here, or the general interview schedule here on the right. Brian Dable is interviewing today. Mike McCarthy is interviewing tomorrow. Both of those are in person. Jonathan Gannon, former Cardinals coach, is also interviewing in person on Sunday. And then Robert Saleh, mere 24-ish hours after his fateful game in the playoff, will be interviewing either in a very good or a very bad mood via Zoom with the Titans on Sunday. And it was reported by Paul and then reiterated by Diana Rossini at The Athletic yesterday that this little schedule right here is what will conclude the Titans' initial round of interviews. Now, what's interesting about that is the names on that list of 18 that we thought was a finalized list of 18, who we have not heard about the actual interview for. And that is Chris Shula, Rams defensive coordinator, and Cliff Kingsbury, former Washington Commanders offensive coordinator. Chris Shula, little news on him this morning from Albert Breer, had requests from 7 teams to interview for their head coach job. That includes the Titans. Things are fluid, so he might do more than just the 3 that he is scheduled to do today after the team's final walkthrough. But these are the 3 that are set, and I think below he named the 3. Point being here, the Titans are not one of those 3. Timing stuff with LA traveling tomorrow and his interview window being Tuesday to Saturday. I no longer think that the Titans are going to interview Chris Shula, and I feel pretty confident that the Titans are not going to interview Cliff Kingsbury. They both remain unscheduled. We talked, I forget when, earlier this week, maybe last week, about a little birdie, Nick Suss, mentioning on a show here in Nashville that he did not think Kingsbury was getting interviewed. I mentioned that because I had not heard anything to that effect, but I also had not heard anything to the effect of when he was getting scheduled. So, was kind of a TBD, let's see. And it seems that Suss was right. So one day I'll beat it out of him and figure out how he knew that. But I don't think that he's going to interview, and I don't think that Chris Shula... I think Kingsbury was a choice on the Titans' part, to be honest with you. That's speculation on my part. I think they decided, we're good. And I think Shula had limited time and chose the 3 most interesting options to him. And maybe that's a leverage play on his. Maybe that's an indication that he's going to get a job, and then he's that high in demand, perhaps. I don't know. Or maybe he's just being selective like Ben Johnson was and is going to do a couple cycles until he finds the right spot. Either way, I don't think Shula picked the Titans. I think the Titans' interest in Shula was real. And so I think the list of official first-round candidates shrinks back down to a nice round 16. JT, your thoughts on all of this?
Yeah, the Cliff Kingsbury one, I feel like it was obviously reported that they had some interest, but with how many they've done, I feel like that's a totally fair one to be like, there's other avenues here that we are maybe more confident in. And just with the way that those interviews have been going and with him being somewhat in demand as well, other places, I think that's totally fair that they say we might just pass on that one. The Chris Shula one for me, so Kingsbury, non-factor. Chris Shula for me, though, huge news in my opinion. I think it's been no secret that Chris Shula is like one of my top 3 candidates that I would like to be the Titans' next head coach. And of course, that is not going to be the case. And I get it, right? There is 2 sides to this street. One, right? They are in the playoffs.
I'm being told the Titans brass are flying to Chris Shula's home this afternoon to... Sorry, continue.
It's a 2-way street. The Rams are still much in the playoffs, and it's not something with Chris Shula choosing to do the interviews. It sounds like all the Rams are this is what under how they are doing things with preparing for this playoff game. Shula, LaFleur, all the guys who have interviews with teams on that staff are using them this weekend in this selective time period. So it's not like Chris Shula is choosing to not interview right now, or this is how they're doing it. But also on the Titans side, as unfortunate as it is, I get it from their perspective as well. You've done 16 interviews, or will have done 16 interviews by the end of Sunday for candidates. And as much as Chris Shula could be a really good candidate and a really good fit here for the Titans, potentially, the Titans also need to get the ball rolling and start looking towards building this team up again. So where is that point of saying, we don't want to miss out on maybe some of these other candidates just because we want to get a single interview in with Chris Shula? And so I think that's the impasse we're at. And I think it's unfortunate because I do think that Chris Shula would be a hell of a hire here in Tennessee if they could swing it. But it seems like the Titans may be going in a different direction because, like you said, they get to start doing in-person interviews this upcoming week. And with Chris Shula really only picking 3 jobs to interview in this selective window. This selective window this weekend. It might just make more sense for them to say, let's move on and let's get this thing going so that we can get a guy in here. He can start building his staff and we can get ready for the Senior Bowl and start doing this draft prep.
Yeah. Is it the end of the world? No. Was he high on my list as well? I think he was high on everybody's list. And again, maybe that's why he's doing this the way that he's doing it. I kind of get a Ben Johnson vibe of maybe it'll be a cycle or 2 or 3 until he picks his spot. And that, you know, when you're a Sean McVay guy on a team that's liable to stay good, it is a luxury that you can afford, I suppose. With that, it's now too far in the episode for us not to get the chat involved. And I appreciate you all sitting very patiently waiting because we do have a question for you.
Yeah, they're getting me for Windu right now. So
Mace Windu, selective Windu.
Yeah,
there's a Star Wars Freudian slip on your part. Here's our question, our first question. Since we've established the Titans are not going, because my initial, I mean, I wouldn't call it reporting, just kind of my guesswork, my educated guesswork was that they'd have around a half dozen guys like they did with the GM interviews last year this time. And that's going to be a smaller group. Now, we talked on the show earlier this week about how of the 16, 18 candidates, we felt like at most 9 or 10 of them were actually serious head coach interviews. And the rest were purely coordinator inquiries and fact-finding missions. And that's fine. That's great. I have no issue with that. So it seems like, to me, they're kind of cutting down the serious candidates list from 9 or 10 to 3 or 4 or 5. So kind of cutting it in half. Who do we think is going to be on that half? Let's ask the chat. Prediction time. Who will be the Titans' 4, let's say 4. Between 3, 4, 5, let's just call it 4. Who will be the Titans' 4 finalists for the head coaching job, who they have in for in-person interviews next week? Send your 4 in the comments now. If you need a peek at who your options are, is this a list of all of them? That's a list of way too many of them. There it is. That's the one. Here's your options. Matt Nagy's a real option. McCarthy's a real option. Kingsbury's not, firmly not. Joseph is an option. Spagnuolo, let's be honest, no. Anarumo, no. Stefanski, yes. Morris, up to you. McCoy, definitely not. Garrett, definitely not. Sala, definitely is. Hafley, definitely is. Arthur Smith is. Jesse Minter is. Chris Shula, we've established, out. Jonathan Gannon, up to you, I suppose. Brian Dable, also up to you, I suppose. Those are your options. Send them in the comments while I tell you all about our friends at Barton Drury Insurance Group. They are Nashville's destination for any insurance needs that you might have. They are a locally owned shop who has over 4 decades of experience serving Tennesseans. It's a one-stop shop for all personal and business insurance needs. They offer customized solutions for all of your insurance needs. And Austin and Zach took advantage of those customized solutions when they bought A to Z's corporate insurance last year. They loved the options and plans presented to them, the responsiveness of the experienced service team, very high level of expertise provided by BartonDrury.com. They sell employee benefits, 401k planning, life insurance, workers' comp, liability, auto, property, umbrella, and surety bonds. Anything you could possibly need at an insurance store. They are local, again, so support a local business. They strive to provide excellent service, of course, but most importantly, they want to take the time to make sure everyone understands their insurance policies. Check them out today at BartonDrury.com.
We're also powered by BTA Sports. BTA Sports is better for bettors, and right now, like I continue to say, there's no better time to get in with our friends over at BTA Sports. Use that code when you click the link in the show description or right below the title on Facebook. Use code ATOZSports to get a 14-day free trial that turns into a $79.99 year pass after that. The free trial is going to get you through the divisional round and through the championship games the upcoming next 2 weeks. And then after that, once you've no doubt made your money back, because let's be honest, I don't know about you, Easton, but me and Austin made our money back in less than 2 weeks when we started with them back in August. Then it's just $79.99 for the year after that. That's going to get you the last year of MLB baseball we may ever have in the 2026
Get those Dodgers futures in, folks.
Get those Dodgers futures in, I guess. And then you get the entirety of the 2026 NFL season. And they also may be bringing so many more features like college football on the horizon here. No better time to get in than with our friends at BTA Sports. They are better for bettors.
All right. So we think we know, if we're trusting Kaharski, and I do on this, 3 to 4 candidates will be brought in as finalists this upcoming week for in-person interviews. I would bet, JT, that unless their preferred candidate is, let's say, Robert Saleh, and they win this weekend and he's still in. Because, well, hang on. So nope, wrong one. We have so many, this coaching cycle needs to end. We have so many coaching cycle graphics. It's outrageous. Who of these guys are in the playoffs? Is it just Saleh at this point?
It would just be Saleh, correct.
So that's, depending on how you look at it, I see it as very good news for the Titans, because what you don't want to happen is have a hang up where, well, let's talk about this in a second. I'll get into this when I'll send you to the comments. What are people's answers to their top 4? And then I'll talk about what I think the timeline might look like.
Yeah, because you are right. That timeline, depending on if Robert Saleh is your number one, you kind of would be rooting for if you're from a Titans angle, you'd kind of be rooting for the 49ers to lose this weekend just for your own selfish gain, because then you can just kind of get on with it. But if they don't, that certainly complicates things. So we're doing predicting the 4 finalists for the job. Luke says Saleh, Nagy, McCarthy, Stefanski. Jer says Nagy number 1, McCarthy, Stefanski, and McDaniel. Saleh, McDaniel, McCarthy, Vance Joseph. So 1 for Vance Joseph there. Jason R., Nagy, Smith, McDaniel, McCarthy, McDaniel, Saleh, Stefanski. Jay says Nagy 1, 2 Saleh, 3 someone with no head coaching experience, and 4 someone with no head coaching experience. So 2 new head coaches and 2 retreads there. He believes that's what it's going to be. Tall Texan, McCarthy, Nagy, McDaniel, Saleh, Daniel Caribbean, Nagy, Stefanski, Saleh, Joseph. Nagy, McCarthy, Stefanski, Saleh are more likely. We're getting a lot of those. You guys are in the chat here. I will go through this real quick and just look through and see if there's anybody that I have not named as a prediction, because we could say those 4 names of Nagy, McCarthy, Stefanski, Saleh over and over again, including McDaniel there, as many times as I want. Here's one. Ghost says Hafley. So the first one there for Hafley. Scott also saying McCarthy, Saleh, Stefanski, Hafley. So 2 votes there for him. Bork with a Minter vote there. He believes Jesse Minter will be in the mix there. A lot of, this is probably the best and most likely, not best, but like the most popular top 4 would most likely be McCarthy, Saleh, Stefanski, and Nagy.
Just for kicks and I'm laughing at the fact that I just, for kicks and giggles, went to my Kalshi app that I recently downloaded, new sponsor here on the show, and was just curious to see what their market said this morning on Titans head coach odds. Now, betting markets on head coaching odds are, they are, how can you describe? They're purely rumor mill markets. There's like, unlike a lot of the lines placed on games where there's inside info, there's schematic considerations, there's actual bases to, is that a word? Bases to the things that they are adjusting the line with. Head coach hiring odds are just whatever the flavor of the day is. It's like handicapping Twitter. There's nothing real to it. So
do you want to know? Do you want to know what the Kalshi lines were last night before Kyle Tucker signed with the Dodgers?
Sure.
81% Mets, 19% Blue Jays. Dodgers were not even
like 1% Dodgers. Yeah.
No,
okay.
no.
Less than 1%.
There was less than 1% Dodgers.
That's crazy. Well, right now it's 47% Matt Nagy. The next leader in the Kalshi clubhouse is 24% Brian Daboll.
No shot.
Then 13% McDaniel, 10% McCarthy, 8% Stefanski, 4% Saleh. So, there might be some. Hey, there might be an opportunity for some money to be made.
There might be an opportunity here.
4% on Robert Saleh is kind of 18.7% payout for Saleh. Kind of egregious to me, if you ask me.
A little bit, yep.
Might have to throw some money in my Kalshi app. I might have to just get crazy with it. JT,
you'll soon be able to use our link and you get $100 when you put 20.
I know. I'm probably. You know what? And we need to speed that up on the sales front because I need it before they hire a coach. Can we first, before we reveal? Well, let's just go ahead and do it. Who do you think are the 4 candidates that they bring in?
If you had,
I feel really good about 3 of them.
I do too. I think my 3 that I think 3? They maybe here. I'll just go with mine. Gun to my head, I think they bring in Nagy. It's just too. It's too popular.
They're definitely bringing in Nagy.
They're going to bring Nagy in for a second interview, and he'll be a finalist. I think it's hard. This is the one that I feel it feels right, but it really, the playoffs are going to complicate it. I feel like Saleh is a
I feel
really
very good about them bringing in Saleh.
Now the only thing, like a Super Bowl run for Shanahan, which once again, Kyle Shanahan has never he's never not been in the playoffs and made the Super Bowl. So that's something that you're going to have to
go Sam Darnold.
You're going to have to go with the fight in Sam Darnold's and
Sammy D
and his shoulder injury or whatever he's dealing with apparently.
Stillman's boy.
I feel good about Nagy and Saleh, and then if you had to ask me, I think McDaniel's a third.
Okay, so same 3.
Okay.
I feel very good about those 3 getting a second interview. And then I don't think it'll be only those 3. I mean, in Paul's article, there's room for it to just be those 3, which would be kind of nice because if it were just, well, for a lot of people, that'd be like, oh no, a 66% chance of getting it right. To me, I'd be like, cool, I'm fine with any of these. I feel like there will be more than 3. And there are really only 2 names rattling around in my brain for the 4th spot. So maybe it's both of them and it's 5. But I think McCarthy is still in play. I've gotten a weird vibe on him this week, not based on anything like super, like I'm not like talking to the front office. I'm not talking to anybody. But I feel like things maybe have cooled a little bit on him. We've not heard anything. And well, actually it's 3 guys. I think McCarthy, Stefanski, and Arthur Smith are the other 3 guys that I'm thinking about. And I feel like you get 1 or maybe 2 of them in addition to the 3 we already named.
Stefanski is one of those guys because it's so weird, this head coaching cycle. It's honestly kind of refreshing that the Titans, because of how seemingly close they were in the John Harbaugh race, where like because they missed out, now the attention turns a lot to them and seeing where they go. Maybe I just am not this connected into the other markets, but like there's not a lot of rumblings out of Las Vegas for what they're going to do with their head coaching situation.
No.
And so Stefanski's a tough one because I think there's a real reality where he may not be a finalist just because one of these teams who has zero buzz in what they're doing with their coaching search right now just like really likes him and like just gives him the idea that like we are very much interested. So maybe the Titans see that and pass on him. You talked about who else on your list there?
McCarthy. Yeah.
we'll see how, I mean, listen, he hasn't even interviewed yet. So like, that's a hard one to really predict for me. Like we don't know how that's going to exactly go. And then Arthur Smith, I don't know,
crazy
man.
talk,
like,
apparently. I don't know. Have we forgotten who the owner of this team is? Are we sure it's crazy talk?
True. That's fair.
I'm not saying he's getting the job, but like, is it crazy to see an ultimatum and be like, hey, bring that guy back in? I at least want to see him. Because Amy's not seen these guys, right? She's not talked to him. So that's why I'm like, Arthur Smith could definitely get a second interview.
So you kind of go with the three that we are pretty much sold on here, which is McDaniel, Nagy, Saleh, 3 retreads. In this,
you know what? I think we are overlooking somebody. It just dawned on me.
So here's my fourth, and here's the bottom line. It's like I think the fourth is still very much up in the air. Like I think it could be an out of left field type of guy. It could also very much come down to, which I think we're going to get to here in a second. That fourth feels like, okay, it kind of sets the narrative for where this team actually is looking for their head coach, right? Because if we feel very good about those 3 former retreads, former head coaches, the fourth logically feels like they might bring in somebody who has not been a head coach yet, just to have that little difference in person and feel just see the difference there. Or they may just, that kind of might seal, if they go with a McCarthy or they go with an Arthur Smith, they may just cement that we're going with a retread here. And one guy that I think is a wild card here, and that was very early on in the process, and I think because he was very early on in the process and may just like be out of our minds because of how much is going on here. Like, who's to say that we don't get a pleasant surprise of Vance Joseph getting the call?
That's who I was thinking. Yep.
To be
I think
next,
we are
the
foolishly
final
overlooking him.
Like, I think that I would not be surprised one bit if come Monday or Tuesday, they say, these are the finalists for the job and Vance Joseph's name on there, kind of cementing the idea that they are going all in on a retread.
I think that's going to be my prediction. My official 4 prediction is McDaniel, Saleh, Joseph, and who am I forgetting?
McDaniel, Saleh. who are we forgetting?
Who else
they were just right there. McDaniel, Saleh, Vance Joseph, and why am I forgetting? I don't know. Nagy. He's on the.
Duh. Yeah. Nagy. Yeah, that's the 4 that I'm most expecting to see. Now, maybe it's none of them. maybe it's not. We didn't mention, to your point about potential non-retreads. I mean, Minter is certainly in the mix. Hafley is certainly in the mix. Let's talk about the retread thing here in just a second. Let me quickly tell everyone about our friends over at Window Nation.
Window Nation.
Window Nation is running a big old sale. Let's use the fun graphic for a fun phoned-in Friday. They got
There's silver in this graphic, by the way.
There's what?
There's silver in this graphic, by the way.
Real silver? Is that right? Anyways, Window Nation running a buy 4 get 4 window free sale right now in the month of January. January, what a great time to replace your windows with our friends at Window Nation. You can get 0% financing for 2 years. It's a very long time to pay 0% in financing. Schedule a fast, free estimate, no cost to you. Now, with our pro friends at Window Nation, 866-90Nation is the number to call today, or go to windownation.com. If you're tired of your house, either one, being uncomfortably cold, your electric bills being shockingly expensive this time of year, it's kind of a cold snap going on right now in Nashville. So those bills are going to be a little higher. And they'll be even higher if you have bad windows that are poorly thermally insulating your home. Our friends at Window Nation will fix that today. Again, give them a call at 866-90Nation for a free estimate, or go to windownation.com.
Also powered by BTA Sports, where insight meets instinct. Once again, use that code ATOZSports when you sign up. Get a 14-day free trial. $79.99 after that. That's going to get you the rest of the way for the 2025 season, 2025-2026 season of the playoffs. You're going to get the last season maybe ever of baseball in 2026, and then you're going to get the entire
maybe ever
regular season.
America's pastime. It's over. This is the last one.
You're going to get the entirety of the 2026 NFL season with our friends at BTA Sports. Once again, use that link in the show description or right below the title on Facebook. BTA Sports is better for bettors. And then Jack, our friend here, this might be smart on their end. He says, "Hey Easton, has Austin used the silver to pitch the job to any coach yet? We'll put silver in the windows of your new multi-million-dollar mansion." I don't know.
Not bad.
They could potentially do that.
Not bad. You know what? That could be
Hit him on the phone.
That could seal the deal. I'm going to send our next question in the chat right now. Do you prefer the Titans to hire a retread or a first-time head coach? Because we just talked about who we think the candidates are going to be. Obviously, of the 16 candidates, I believe 14 of them, 13, 14 of them are guys with former NFL head coach experience. Now, again, a lot of those guys are fact-finding interviews and not serious interviews. But the point remains, the Titans have made it crystal clear what their type is. Frankly, if you're listening to us, I was reporting back in October that I felt pretty good about the Titans wanting to find a guy that was either a former head coach and or had 5+ years of coordinating experience. And I had that on good standing with the front office. That's clearly been the case here. But that doesn't mean there aren't guys that are big name candidates in the entire cycle who the Titans are interviewing, like Halfley and Minter, who are still firmly in the mix. I'll send you to the chat, JT, because I'm seeing a lot of people weighing in on this. But I want to see what people prefer and then talk about what we think is going to happen. But first, the preferences.
Yeah, the preferences here. It seems pretty, I guess, now this is the small majority, or the vocal the vocal majority here in the chat are going with retread. Ghost says retread. Orlando retread. Steven retread. Retread absolutely. Need a stabilizer, which I think is the fair point there. Johnny, retread in McCarthy. He's the best pick for Cam in his opinion there. Cristoforo thinks it's the only option this cycle. Brad also agrees. JR says we need some kind of competitiveness and culture at this point. Tall Texan, the first one to speak his mind and go against the grain here, says no retreads. Cam needs an offensive head coach with preferably winning experience. McCarthy, so he goes against his word right there. He says no retreads, but we need Mike McCarthy. So, hey.
Okay.
Well, hey, we'll talk that one out, I guess.
Known first-time head coach Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, Bustin' Diamond says retread, more specifically Mike McDaniel. Jer says McCarthy or McDaniel retread, if not first time with Clint. Well, unfortunately, the Titans are not interviewing Clint Kubiak. So, unfortunately.
Welcome to the party.
Hey, I think that might just be him trying to re-trigger my brain because I was so on the Clint Kubiak train there. A lot of retread here. So Tall Texan says, sorry, no first timers. So he said no first timers. He wants the retread. So actually he didn't go against the grain.
That thing I said, I meant the opposite.
Exactly. Yeah. A lot of people want an alpha in here. As Daniel says, he's the retread there for McCarthy. So far, I mean, maybe I've missed one and I apologize. Might want to just put it back in there if I missed it. But like, I have not seen a single person think, hey, maybe a first time guy would be a good idea. And I think that's fair for Titans fans. They just went through that with Brian Callahan. Certainly not. Maybe, and we know about coaching cycles when teams zig and that doesn't work, you tend to zag and go the opposite. But, I think you look at what the Titans are doing here, and it's hard not to believe that they probably are going to go with retread. So a lot of people might just be getting on the bandwagon now and trying to, build up that wall and be like, this is what I want.
I don't feel like super strongly about, they've got to get a retread. What?
I just said I don't either. I agree.
Gotcha. I mean, I do think it's clearly important to them, and I understand why it's important to them. In terms of what I'm predicting, I'm definitely predicting the finalist list to be the rise of the retreads. Like, I don't think there will be any first timers in there. Maybe I'll be wrong, but I think that they've made it crystal clear what their type is. And frankly, if there is even one newcomer in there, I think that the signal will be like, this guy doesn't stand a chance. I think it will be better to have a guy. Here's what they obviously can't do again is have a guy that would be taking a leap like Brian Callahan did, who was basically getting 2 job promotions at once from a play calling standpoint and from a head coaching standpoint. And they don't have anybody in the running at this point who would be doing that. And so that's why I'm kind of cool with any of them. But I do think that somebody that has experience with failure before or ups and downs before for a team like Tennessee where there's so much needed to get back into serious contention, you can do worse than prioritizing that.
Absolutely. And I think you look at some of the first-time head coaches here this cycle, the Halfleys, the Kubiaks. It seems like there's a lot more buzz and maybe more interest already, and maybe that's why none of them are a finalist anyways, because like teams like the Falcons and teams like the Dolphins and other teams around the league just seem to maybe, because they are moving off of some older guys or guys who have been there for more than 3-ish years, they're looking for young blood. And maybe the Titans recognize that and say, it may not be worth our time, because they're going to obviously maybe go to that direction and get that clean slate and start somewhere else with maybe a team that has a little bit more to offer there. I mean, the Dolphins don't really, the Raiders have a little bit to offer, but like they may want to go in a younger direction, which gives the Titans the perfect opportunity to kind of have the pick of the litter from the retreads outside of Harbaugh, obviously.
And people are misunderstanding the point here. Cap saying that is literally Nagy to me, talking about guys getting double promotions, head coach and play calling. Doesn't call plays and isn't a head coach. Buddy, he's been one before, both a play caller and a head coach. That's the point. It's about experience, not what they're literally doing right this second. So it's not similar in any way to what Brian Callahan did in terms of a leap. Isn't that Nagy? No. Does Nagy call plays right now? No. Did he? Yes. And if he becomes the head coach of this team, will he? No. So even then, you're still missing the point, or you've not paid attention. If he becomes the head coach, he is not going to call the plays. How do I know that? He said so. How about the timeline on this, JT? Mm-hmm. Because I think there was a time when I was worried we wouldn't even know who the head coach is before the Senior Bowl because of how many of the hot candidates were on teams that I kind of thought would be locked up in the playoffs. But, and oh, by the way, we have so relegated Vance Joseph unfairly that earlier when we mentioned guys that are still in the playoffs, we forgot Vance Joseph. So there's a chance
he is in the playoffs, isn't he? Well, I mean, okay,
he
it's
didn't
not
play
fair.
last weekend, so that's
out of sight, out of mind.
That's right.
He was
too good to be in our minds.
We're mere 2-year-olds. We do not have object permanence when it comes to teams in the playoffs. So.
Correct. So that's another one that could, would I want Vance Joseph holding up the Titans coaching hiring? I don't know if I love that. But it could. So we'll keep that in mind. I think with Joseph and Saleh still in the playoffs, odds are at least one of them will move on. There's a chance both of them move on. I still think that they're going to feel the pressure to make a hire next week because I think that the majority of these dominoes are going to fall next week. And Harbaugh, having been all but hired at this point, sounds the starting bell of the hiring mad dash, the derby. And with so many openings, 8 left, there's no way teams aren't feeling the pressure already to get their guy before everyone else gets their guy. And something that I'm sure a lot of people fail to realize or consider is it's not just about getting your head coach. It's also pressure on the prospective head coach's part because all of these guys have already back-channeled their different staffs. And a guy like Saleh, for example, I was talking to somebody the other day in the league, random person in the league who I know, coach in the league, who has been a part of some of this back channeling for the staffs of these guys. And it's well, Saleh has these guys lined up if he gets this job, these guys lined up if he gets this job. And so these guys that would be potential staffers of the different coaches, there are guys that are on 7 different hypothetical staffs right now, and they're liable to take the first real staff that exists. So there's a mad dash to get you. I mean, there's only so many quality staffers for 8 different staffs that are about to be put together, not even mentioning Harbaugh's, which is in the process right now of getting their pick of the litter. So That is a lot of pressure on the candidates and the hirees to make their hire now. And I'm fascinated to see how the Titans handle it, because we know that they've been very process oriented. Mike Borgonzi has too many mics in this process. Mike Borgonzi has been meticulous about this process, wanting to get all of the interviews in, not want to skip any steps or accelerate it. The only thing he accelerated at any point was the compliance Rooney Rule situation, to make sure that if they needed to jump ship and hire Harbaugh as an exception, they could do so. Otherwise, I know that he would like to conduct interviews with all of his finalists and then make a decision. But sometimes you don't have that luxury. And sometimes the guy's in the building and you've got Mike McCoy, too many mics. Mike McDaniel is your favorite, let's just say. And he's in the building for your second interview on Monday. And you know that he's got a second interview with the Ravens on Tuesday. And if he is your guy and the second interview goes awesome and everybody's like, oh man, can't wait. He probably we'll hear the other guys out. We're probably offering him the job. You're going to be like, we can't let him leave the building. Can't let him leave, especially with so many other jobs open. So it's just, I don't know how it's going to go. My gut today says that they'll have a coach like in the front half of next week. Is that crazy? That on Wednesday or Thursday, we're going to St. Thomas Sports Park to meet the new coach?
The over-under is Wednesday then, right? Like, do you think it happens before
That's
Wednesday?
What it feels like.
It's tough, right?
Pending the playoffs, right? Because if I'm right about Saleh being their guy and he wins this weekend, which they're underdogs to the Seahawks, so then
I was gonna say your playoff parlay this week for a Titans head coach by Wednesday is Bills, Seahawks, Rams money line.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And that's the hard one, right? Because for Saleh, that is, if you're expecting them by Wednesday, and even if the 49ers lose, you're talking to Saleh for the first time via Zoom on Sunday, and then asking him to fly out the next day or the day after, and kind of doing that don't leave the building mentality. That's why I maybe push it back to maybe Thursday or Friday, because if he is their guy, it feels like you potentially have your interview with Saleh on Sunday, make your finalist list by Monday, and if it is 4 and Saleh's on there, have the 3 others come in Monday, Tuesday, get Saleh in by Wednesday, you're done by Thursday, and we can wrap this whole thing up.
Right.
That would be the timeline.
Our official handicapper of the AtoZSports Morning Show Orlando says over under Wednesday at 2 for an announcement. I'll take the under on that. I'm not like certain of it. I don't have any inside information.
Does the under mean that it's not Saleh? That's my only question.
Yeah, that's you're right. That's the wild card. I think so. Maybe unfair of me to discount Vance Joseph. I don't think that he would hold up this process if he moves on this weekend. I do think Saleh has the potential to do that, and so, man, that will be an interesting case study in and of itself, because if he is announced as a finalist and he moves on, and to your point of every single time Shanahan's ever been in the playoffs, he's made the Super Bowl. Is that right, by the way? Is that true?
Every time he's a head coach, at least.
Crazy. Then how long are they willing to go? Mm-hmm. Basically, if you're gonna hold out for Saleh, you have to have made your mind up already, right?
I agree.
You have to have made your mind up already, and most importantly, you need to have an assurance of some kind, a handshake, a wink, or like, because he's going to be a candidate with other teams. He is a candidate with other teams. I'd bet he's a second candidate with other teams.
He absolutely.
Who's to say other teams don't hold out and wait for him?
Like the Ravens, or
so it's risky business, man. It's risky business.
It'll be fascinating to see what happens, and I think it really, the linchpin in this entire thing is the playoffs this weekend. So, and San Francisco plays on Saturday night. Saturday. So we'll know in the next 48 hours, I guess 36 hours, what's going on there. And that'll be really interesting. Let's get to some comments and then get to the Mike McDaniel of it all.
Let's
talk about one specifically here. But first, I'll tell the folks about the Bone and Joint Institute, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedics and sports medicine. Whenever you get hurt in life, you have to know who to trust, and that's why we at AtoZSports trust the Bone and Joint Institute. They're located in Franklin with over a dozen specialists who can help you through any type of injury. And they have a state-of-the-art rehab facility up there on I-65 near Franklin to help your recovery, and can do everything under one roof for your convenience, whether that's just clinic or testing, imaging, surgery, rehab. They have it all. Don't fumble your recovery. To schedule an appointment at their main location or a satellite campus, go to boneandjointtn.org.
We're also powered by BTA Sports. BTA Sports, better for bettors. Use the link in the description below to get a 14-day free trial. You will be a better with our friends at BTA Sports. JT, a couple super chats that lead us perfectly into.
Well, let's do Daniel's real quick, because this is Easton and JT. Daniel says, "What do you think it says that nobody else is interviewing McCarthy?" Few thoughts.
I think that it has to do with the Titan. Well, first of all, are we sure? Is that true? They're literally the only ones interviewing McCarthy? I feel like there was another
question.
request.
There might be another request.
You look on that. Whether it's the Titans alone, or it's not a widespread thing, right? So it's Titans, maybe one or two other teams.
Mm-hmm.
I think it speaks to the familiarity the Titans have with him. But I'm with you that it makes me wonder. I mean, that's a part of the reason why my vibe on him this week is like, I'm not positive he gets a second interview. He might.
It is just the Titans.
Okay, so there you go. I was the one that initially reported that he was getting the initial interview with the Titans. I felt very good about that for reasons that I sourced. But I will not be the one to tell you that he's
the
definitely getting a
Giants
second
did,
interview.
But like, does that really count? You know,
it
kind of does, because if they didn't get Harbaugh, maybe McCarthy's the fallback there. So like,
potentially, they were going to interview him.
Hope.
So. Yeah. And they were clearly looking for guys that had prestige, and he has a history. I mean, he has a ring. He's one of the only other guy in this cycle that has a ring, besides Harbaugh. So, a head coaching ring, that is. I don't think it's some big red flag. It's like, I think it would be more of a red flag if it was a lesser name, right? Like somebody that's out of the woodwork. It's like the Titans are the only team interviewing Anthony Campanelli or Davis, and I know Davis Webb, and both of those guys are bad examples because they both got interviews. But if that were the case, how about are the Browns the only team interviewing Grant Udinski, who I actually like a lot, and I projected.
Yeah, they're also the only team
coach of that team.
They're also interviewing a bunch of people. Like they're interviewing Dan Pitcher, who could end up.
Right, yeah, Dan Pitcher, right.
Like, I mean, all of those are they're out there in their own land figuring things out.
That's Cleveland, baby.
Yeah.
Yep. So, because he is who we know him to be, I'm not really moved by it. I think it's just a product of circumstance, to be honest with you.
Fair enough. I think, yeah, you look at the other options around the league, like Miami, they're not exactly in the market for a guy with that pedigree. And certainly you really only get two. That's the other thing, right? Who's to say that McCarthy isn't exactly being selective and kind of put that out there to begin with, like with the people that he has interest with. That's where that mutual interest type of conversation came from, because we know that the precedent is you really only get two opportunities as a head coach. Mike McCarthy, like if you get that third one, you're absolutely pushing your luck. So you don't want to go to a Miami or a Cleveland or even maybe in Atlanta with a quarterback situation up in the air that, you're going to be out in two and then you're really done. Like there's nothing else for you to do, So maybe that's the reason there as well. But once again, he hasn't even interviewed yet. So I don't know. He hasn't interviewed yet. I'm not ready to exactly say where he is on this list and like what that's going to say. I think we'll know pretty short after that. Once again, that 36 hours after that interview and what happens with the 49ers, that we'll get some clarity on that.
Because before we get to McDaniel pros and cons.
Tomorrow's being Saturday. The Bills and Broncos also play, right?
Yes.
So we'll have an answer by like who's moving on for the Titans wise by tomorrow.
Yes. Good point. We got some deeply important breaking news right now. Senior Bowl head coaches announced.
Ooh.
National team, Eagles senior defensive assistant and defensive line coach Clint Hurt. Everyone loves Clint, right? Big fan of Clint. And American team, Saints associate head coach and running backs coach Joel Thomas. If you know either of those men, congratulations. That means you know at least one more of them than I do. But looking forward to, seeing them coach up those JT, boys down there.
You don't believe in Quinn Ewers? I do not.
Ewers? Well, let's talk about his former head coach, Mike McDaniel, and do some pros and cons on former Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel as the Tennessee Titans' next head coach. JT, he is the hottest name right now for the Titans if you consider social media to be real life. I mean, the streets of Twitter are lined with Mike McDaniel gold right now. People are loving pulling up old clips of him talking scheme, talking to his players, talking to fellow coaches, players talking about their former coach. He's a controversial candidate because he was just fired. Fair. So there are equal pros and cons on this list. I know that he's extremely high on my list. In fact, when I was on Stillman's show yesterday, I made him lose his mind at the very end of my spot by saying that if you gave me the choice today, I would hire McDaniel. Remind me where he is on your pecking order for head coach.
Mike McDaniel, if I had to pick now with Shula out of the mix, he was on the border of 3. I think I was 1 Saleh, 2 Shula, 3 McDaniel with a couple other people that I wouldn't mind in the mix. He probably moves up to 2 now.
Okay.
In that list with still other candidates I don't mind after that.
Sure.
I think just obviously I would still very much like the Saleh and then McDaniel as his OC type of consolation prize there without Shula. That's my dream. Mm-hmm. That's obviously most likely not going to happen now.
Right.
But give me one or the other because of just I like where both those guys come from. So either one is good for me. And then after that, it really is up in the air.
Because the last time the Titans hired a former 49ers guy, it went so well. I kid. The fact that he just got fired.
Can I say something real quick on that?
You may.
I was going through my camera roll this morning, trying to find assets to use for our lower third and whatnot. And you know how the Apple will just kind of show you like videos and stuff from the past and whatnot.
Sure.
And they just kind of show up. The video I had of Rand Carthon and Mike McDaniel dapping each other up at the NFL Combine showed its ugly head this morning.
Apropos.
So, yes.
Well, since he just got fired, let's start with the cons. I know that a lot of these lists we've done this week, we've gone pros and then cons, but people are so hyped about the guy. Let's get the ugly stuff out of the way. Let's play devil's advocate for a guy that we both like a lot. But JT, if I peered into the future and told you, oh, the Titans hire McDaniel and it's a disaster, what's your first reason on the cons list for why that might have happened?
The culture never was built. The culture of this team continued to be shaky at best, with Cam and a couple of young guys trying to take it by themselves and really run with it, which has its ups and downs, as we've learned this past year with some of the ways that they have talked in the media and whatnot. And if that's right or wrong, that's a discussion for a previous month or so ago, because we're now moving forward with these head coaching candidates and what we think the Titans want this culture to be. Mike McDaniel, out of the guys we've talked about this week, whether it be Saleh, whether it be a McCarthy, whether it be, I think any of these guys, maybe has the weakest argument to be a culture setter.
I think that's fair. My con is fashion sense. No, my con is a lot of people upset about the capri pants, which I think that it's kind of dumb too. But it's not for me; it's for him, I suppose. I couldn't pull it off. My first con is results, inconsistent results, lack of results. The fact that he has no playoff wins. The fact that he coached a team that was pretty up and down, even this past year, obviously starting really rough. And then, could say it's credit to him that they kind of clawed back, but then at the end of the year kind of fell back down to earth with the Quinn Ewers of it all. So inconsistent results. And if you want to play the blame game with the quarterback, if you're a huge Tua fan, I suppose you could say, well, he failed Tua ultimately. Now, when we get to the pros side of the argument, I have a different opinion of that, but it's all in the eye of the beholder, right? Other than that, other than the results and the culture, which the culture, for a lot of folks, the culture is like a massive A1 thing. And I certainly don't want to dismiss the fact that I think it's important for this Titans team to have a culture setter. But I
think it just is such a, because with the other guys we've talked about in pros and cons this week, we always start with culture and how big that is. That's what even the Titans said is one of the biggest things. And so you look at what Mike McDaniel can bring. I mean, they didn't even get 1 week into the season this year without people thinking Mike McDaniel lost the locker room. And that's for a team that was trying to restart this greatest show on surf type of mentality this year, with Devon Achane and Tyreek Hill back healthy. And of course, there were some personality issues, no doubt. I mean, Tyreek Hill getting arrested or whatever that was before the season even starts. And so they kind of had some omens above their head. But the fact that it took less than a week for the questions of have they lost the locker room and Mike McDaniel's type of demeanor in which he lets the locker room be a little bit more player oriented, where I think the Titans want to go with a guy who is going to be the guy that is going to set the culture instead of letting them continue to do that. I feel like that is a huge red flag for what the Titans want. But just like we talked about with Saleh and his big red flag being, can he really develop Cam? McDaniel's kind of the opposite of that, in which but the Cam development side of this could be really, really, really good.
Sure. Well, let's get to the pros then, because a couple of super chats we've been sitting on here. Just smash. Why the hate on McDaniel? Well, we just told you the reasons why there's hate on McDaniel. But Chris, in all caps, McDaniel, my first choice, always was bring Waddle, which I love that thinks he can just put Waddle in a suitcase and bring him with him. If you get McDaniel, you're not getting Waddle. Sorry about that.
Let's turn the NFL into an NIL college football style where they can just transfer with their head coach.
Half their roster suddenly is on the Titans because they like McDaniel.
Aaron Brewer, come on back over.
That's right. Bring it on back. JT, what's your first pro? What is your first argument, your best argument for hiring Mike McDaniel?
I think he can bring the Titans an offense that nobody in Tennessee has ever seen. It would look night and day different to what the Titans have run for the last 2 decades. I think you look at what he's done with the run game, with pass protection, with setting those guys up for success. And I know we continue to talk about how much the Titans struggle with their offensive line issues. McDaniel's scheme, if you give that to this offensive line, I think you look at what he did with Aaron Brewer. Aaron Brewer signed with them, a guy who, for all intents and purposes, was kind of on his way out of Tennessee because he just didn't look like he had it and was able to play at an NFL level with his size and with what he has physically, with his traits. He goes to Miami and is now a perennial Pro Bowl contender to be at center. I mean, you know the issues that they've had with guys like Lloyd Cushenberry at center, the problems they've had at left tackle with Dan Moore. The system that Mike McDaniel runs, Music City Mike there, you look at
it would be clever if it weren't for the fact that we've had so many Mikes.
Correct. You look at what he could do with that type of offensive line, and you could say the scheme itself might help turn this offensive line around, not just these guys getting better with more experience. The way he runs his scheme kind of doesn't give you that much time for the tackles to really get beat. That you're not, this is an offense predicated on getting the ball out in less than 2 seconds most of the time. This is one where I think you could look at this offensive line and what they're bringing back if you brought Mike McDaniel in and be like, there's no reason to think that this offensive line can't be a top 10 unit next year, or as it is already. with Kevin Zeitler going out, with the questions with Lloyd Cushenberry, with the questions with J.C. Latham on the right side. That type of thing, I think, lends itself really well to a Mike McDaniel scheme.
Yeah, there are plenty of examples of players that got better under Mike McDaniel's tutelage. And obviously the center situation you just covered. I think that Tua at his peak was only as good as he was, frankly, because of the work that McDaniel did. Now, ultimately, he failed. And if we're going to play the blame game on that, like I mentioned a moment ago, man, I think Tua stinks. Like, we've heard it this year already that, like, the only thing that he brings to the table really is as a pre-snap diagnostician. Is that a word? Sure. He doesn't bring anything post-snap. And I'm sure Mike McDaniel is dying for a quarterback that brings anything to the table post-snap. And Cam Ward obviously would fit that bill. I think that he would be a dream match with Cam, both from a demeanor standpoint, because they both have kind of that laid back, like cool, calm, collected demeanor. I think that they would work really well together on a personal level. But more importantly, I think that the scheme that he would bring to the table, the wide zone, really the masterful run design that he has been working on for the past decade of his life, is something that would work perfectly for Cam Ward and for the collection of weapons that they already have. I think that he'd be a maximizer for guys like Tajay Spears, who's still going to be around, for Chim Dike. I mean, imagine Chim Dike on the tunnel screens that he runs, a sophisticated screen game. I think his offense obviously...
Is that the biggest pro? A better screen game?
Probably. I think that his offense clearly lends itself to shots down the middle of the field, which we know Cam Ward wants to do, and we know is a strength of his. So we'd be able to lean into that. Go ahead.
I was going to say, could you imagine the Chigakonkwo part of a Mike McDaniel offense?
Right. I mean, I think he'd want him back because I think that he'd be a player that would work really well. Drew says, hey, DK, 60,000 career yards from solely tunnel screens. It's on the table if Mike McDaniel comes here.
Fair enough.
So I think that he's just a perfect fit. And the culture concerns, like if I'm playing the blame game on this, I think it's pretty clear around the league that a lot of teams think the Dolphins did not have a very good reason to fire this guy. Like, honestly, I think that a bunch of executives came in and interviewed for that job during that week, that first week of the offseason. And as executives are wont to do, frankly, they're like, oh, we could do better than that at coach. I've got a guy that's better than that at coach. Of course you do. I'm sure you do. And so the guy got fired. And Mr. Robinson says, Easton, it sounds like you're pitching a good OC. Well, here's the thing. And I said this with Austin yesterday. If 32 teams are interested in a guy as an OC and thinking about, maybe we fire our guy to get that guy, which is kind of the case with McDaniel right now. He is extremely coveted as an offensive mind. If that's the case around the league, then he shouldn't be an OC. The upside of that weapon in the modern NFL is so great that he should be your head coach. And here's the last thing about culture, and I don't want to totally diminish the idea of needing a guy that can cut. Like, I think a big sell for Saleh is that he's got an alpha personality that you can easily rally around as a player. His players buy in, and that matters. But I do think the culture setting element of head coaching is overplayed a little bit because culture is the fire of a culture is built by a head coach. They set the logs in the fire pit and they light the match, but then the flame is sustained by players. And so I think where you begin as a coach from a culture standpoint is important, and being a guy that is believable is important, and being a guy that players aren't liable to quickly give up on when things get ugly. Those are all important things. But at the end of the day, from a day-to-day standpoint, we put too much of the culture on coaches because the culture on a given Wednesday in week 9 of an up and down season is only as good as the attitude that your best players decide to have when they come in the building and the amount of wins that you have on your ledger. It's the attitude of your best players and how much you're winning. Is that, like, there are some cultures that can sustain success through rough patches better than others, and that's on coaching a good deal. But it's also on the best players in the locker room, leading the team. How many times in our football lives have we heard the best teams are the ones that are player-led? How many times after a Super Bowl do we hear, like during Super Bowl media week, is like, oh man, the reason why we felt good about that team is because like their coaches were great, but like really this was a player-led team. Those are the best teams. That's the reality with culture. So again, not diminishing the importance of a culture guy at coach. It is important, but it's not all important to me. And I think that a guy that would bring a deeply respected skill set as an offensive weapon and wins to the table for the Titans would be enough. Hopefully building a staff around him that will help build that culture and sustain that culture as well to wipe away those concerns for me.
Yeah, I think that's an entirely fair rebuttal to that big culture con potentially. Bustin' Diamond also with the super chat here says culture is built by winning games, not rah BS. If I had to give,
yes,
some of the other pros, I think you talk about here as well. I think that culture could also be mitigated. That culture problem could be mitigated because I think he can build a pretty respectable staff. Who's to say that if Mike McDaniel comes here, Anthony Weaver doesn't follow as his DC? And I think that would be a heck of a hire there on the defensive side of the ball if they wanted to do that. I mean, there's no shortage of guys he could probably bring in as his OC and bring in with the rest of this staff here. So I think that's also a pro there. And then finally, one more pro, just the from a selfish standpoint, the content that we would get on a week-to-week
good
basis.
point.
The clip farming that he would do on Paul Kaharski and the TV media and all of the others would bring such joy to my little heart.
Couldn't agree more.
Yes.
Couldn't agree more. All right, so those are our pros and cons of Mike McDaniel, potential future Tennessee Titans head coach. We'll see. We'll see if he gets a second interview this upcoming week. But clearly the top candidate in a lot of people's eyes. I know that fans would go crazy on the whole if he were the coach. Chris Bine says, hired Tyrone Calico and Eddie Berlin. Spent $2 to say that. Crazy, Chris. You're a madman, Chris. All right. Good news time?
Unfortunately.
All right. Let's get to some Friday good news. Shout out to our friends at Wilson County Hyundai. Make Wilson County Hyundai a part of your new car buying process in person or in Lebanon at in person in Lebanon or at WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Or I suppose third option is you go to Lebanon and then search WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You could do both, I guess.
You could do that. Curtis,
I don't know why, but you could.
Guess Curtis thinks I vape because Curtis says I could vape with Mike McDaniel and Buck apparently. So
maybe he's just saying you could pick it up.
I could.
I guess we all could. Okay. JT, we'll give the chat some time to marinate on good news. Send your good news in the chat. If you've got good news of any kind, send it in there. JT, what good news do you have today?
I don't. I'm not. Like I said, I'm taking the contractual opt-out in good news.
You had a good news opt-out clause?
I do have a good news opt-out clause specifically for.
Is it a one-time use? Are you burning it today?
I mean, there's no better time for me to use it, I think. The good news that I have, I guess if I could spin this in a certain way, the good news is I don't have to waste my time getting excited for another season, getting my hopes up for another season of New York Mets baseball, because it doesn't matter. Because
that's mental health right there.
The Dodgers have once again won the World Series. They are going three-peats. And like I said, we are not.
Shout out Jim Wyatt.
It's the end of baseball as we know it. It is the end of baseball. We will never have baseball again. I can move on with my life, never think about it again. Someone asked me this morning to describe, and obviously this is something that a lot of people in the chat also said this morning, like, what is even going on in baseball? Tell it to me in football terms, blah, blah, blah. Well, the best way I could describe it is, let's say the NFL got rid of the salary cap and the Chiefs decided to pair Patrick Mahomes with Justin Jefferson, Trey McBride, Jahmyr Gibbs, and then get Myles Garrett on the defense, pay them twice what they're owed, and not pay them twice what they're owed over the next 70 years.
right.
And
until you're dead.
And basically that's where we are right now. So
who, if the NFL operated financially like the MLB does, who would be the team?
The Broncos.
So
got
they
that Walmart
obviously
money.
they have the money. Do you think they'd throw it around like that? I think the Eagles would be the team because they already tried to.
Oh, Eagles, fair enough, yeah.
Like Lurie already tries to do this. So, and how insufferable would they be? Who'd be the team? I mean, like the Raiders would never win a game again. Your Cincinnati Bengals would never win a game again. They'd have no players for eternity.
The Cincinnati Bengals would be the Colorado Rockies.
They would. They really would. They'd be so miserable.
Spork says he hopes the Dodgers sign the Japanese slugger so JT can have a complete crash out. I hope so too.
It's not just JT, by the way. It's literally every baseball fan in the world, it seems. Now, I did see, apparently every time this happens, baseball fans crash out, and then baseball media write these think pieces about, like, here's why the Dodgers are actually good for baseball, which is so hilarious and crazy to me. What's the argument for this? Like, I'm not a big enough baseball fan to understand why.
The argument for what?
So I understand why the teams are vehemently anti-salary cap. Or no, is it the players? The players are vehemently anti-salary cap because they get more money as JT is being raptured.
It's all guaranteed.
Right. But what aside from their preference, what's the argument from a product standpoint that this is good? Like, is there a steel man to this argument?
The argument is if the more rich teams continue to spend lucratively, they then get above the luxury tax that is in baseball, and that money that is above the luxury tax then gets is supposed to be sent to the poor teams to then use. But the problem is they don't use their money.
Right, they just pocket it.
They just pocket it. And they continue to use Kyle. Here's the best way I can explain it. Kyle Tucker is going to make $60 million this year.
Right.
The entirety of the Miami Marlins roster is $69 million.
Right.
The Dodgers have, including the girls, the Dodgers team currently, they are paying $2.1 billion guaranteed to their roster right now.
Here's the other, that's outrageous. Here's the other thing about this. So what percentage of sports fans, like people that like me, I consider myself a fan of all sports, even though I'm not like a diehard in any sport besides the NFL or besides football. What percentage of sports fans do you think knew who Kyle Tucker was before yesterday? Because when I saw this, I was like, the Dodgers are going to pay $60 million a year to a guy I've never heard of. I had never heard of Kyle Tucker.
That's just, I mean, that's the thing with baseball, right? That's the whole argument and has been the argument forever, right? That was the argument when Mike Trout was at the top of his game. You could walk into a supermarket and you're standing next to Mike Trout. You probably don't know who Mike Trout is or would not recognize him. Whereas you could
the average person would not, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's the same thing. Kyle Tucker is a rising star, and he's listen. Clearly. I also think that this is a move that you've seen. As I continue to get raptured, I'm just gonna keep scrolling it up here. You've seen this move now twice, 3 times. This is also the thing, right? Players are, and why it's also a little bit unfair is players
this is
are
the
now,
good news segment, by the way. Welcome to the good news segment, everybody.
Players are now realizing that the Dodgers are just going to abuse this. And so guys like Kyle Tucker and my former king, Edwin Diaz, are basically like, I can get paid twice or, maybe 1.5 times as much as I would for someone else and pretty much guarantee myself a ring this upcoming year while also getting paid this much and not having to be the star. And I can just kind of be in the background, play baseball and win a championship and get paid too much money. Like that's what happened with Kyle Tucker, essentially. Kyle Tucker essentially said, I'm not going to go to New York. I'm not going to go to Toronto. These teams that are going to that need me and I could be a star for them. I'm going to go sit in the background behind Freddie Freeman, Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, make $60 million and win a ring. And like on one side, yeah, he didn't go to my team. So I'm going to call him a coward and I'm going to call him, he's a wuss. But also I kind of get it. Like if I could get paid $60 million to go just play baseball and not ever get like yelled at or be the problem for my team because I have everything else around me going for
Don't hate the player, hate the game.
Anyways, Caps. I'm gonna start banning people. Caps. Let's go Dodgers.
Mods ban that guy.
Bork says, I hope the Dodgers sign. Yeah, he said that. And then Orlando said, it's not the end of baseball, JT. You're just a Mets fan. Well,
it might be.
Fair enough. Okay,
he hopes that
let's get to some actual good news.
I've started some good newses, so here we go.
I've derailed it.
It's fine. It's fine. I appreciate you got a little shade in here on a Friday. Let's see. Getting some old out of the chat. There we go. Good news from Just Smash. JT has felt the full force of the light size. Windu. His Windows allowed him to be
true.
raptured.
I am using. Listen, I probably wouldn't get raptured if I used our friends at Windu Nation.
That's right. By the way, my good news, which I didn't share, my actual good news, unlike JT's, is that JT and his roommate and my good friend Henry are kidnapping me tonight to force me to watch The Godfather for the first time, which I'm told is a pretty good movie. I don't know if you've heard. I
did not care for The Godfather.
It insists upon itself.
It insists upon itself.
Well, I'll see whether or not I feel like it insists upon itself.
Maybe we'll get a review on Monday.
Yeah, we're gonna do a whole Italian food, Italian movie. I'm gonna really feel whatever this is tonight. Good news from Jeff.
Actually, this is what's gonna happen. Okay. He figured me out. D-Dread. I'm spoiling it. We're not watching The Godfather. We're watching.
It's gonna be an old switcheroo.
We're gonna make you watch Major League tonight instead.
I will go home. Jeff says, good news. I won't go home. Don't do that, please. Finishing up second week of training in Florida to get his work van electric. Nice. Brad, good news. Solid weekend of games ahead. Indeed. In fact, it's the best weekend of the NFL calendar, in my opinion. I love divisional weekend. Sherman, good news. Just got a huge pay raise at work. Let's go. Love that. Orlando. JT definitely has a vape stash. A thing that I'm learning right now for the first time. I didn't know vape stashes were a thing. Is that a known thing?
I think that's like that. I mean, I've seen a couple ads where it's like to try to get kids to stop vaping. It's like, oh, I only have this one and the one under my bed and the one in my school locker like that. So I guess that's a thing.
Don't vape, kids. Bork, 3-day weekend incoming. That's good news is there a holiday or is it just for him? He's going to take 3 days. There's a holiday coming up, isn't there? One of those
Martin Luther King Jr.
That's right. We won't be taking that day off, but all you federal folks, enjoy. Jack Longley, good news. 1, his ticket was dismissed. I'm glad you're not in trouble. 2, I am in my hit the gym era. Yes, it's because relationship didn't work out, so that's like, I see. So the old breakup to get hot pipeline. And then 3, the Preds are moderately competitive at hockey again. Indeed, the Predators. Last I checked, in a position to actually get a wild card spot.
The Nick Saban effect.
That's right. You know what? I'm going to have to go to a game here shortly now that they're decent again. Orlando. So it's just been bad news all week for JT. Apparently, MB.
Nothing to smile about in my life.
That's right. Good news. We can finally stop talking about Harbaugh. Spelled incorrectly. This guy hated Harbaugh, I guess. So I'm glad you don't have to hear about him anymore. Joshua, good news. My kitty's surgery went well, and I have more quality time with her. What a wholesome good news. I'm glad that your kitten's surgery went well. Dalen, Utah Mammoth keep winning and are in a playoff spot. We found a Mammoth fan, JT. Known listeners of the A to Z Morning Show, Titans fans and Utah Mammoth fans.
Keep taking care of Mikhail Sergachev for me, please. Miss him.
Chris Bynes says, good news is a UNC quarterback might actually win a Super Bowl. Wow. So a big Drake May fan. Drake May fan.
Speaking of it being a Gen Z show, I read this as good news is an UNC quarterback might actually win a Super Bowl.
Which is also true because Matt Stafford's still in the playoffs.
True. That's how I read this. I did not even think about it being Drake May.
You thought it was UNC praise for the old guys?
Yeah, I thought it was an UNC quarterback. So.
All right. Well, that's our good news. And this show officially went about 15, 20 minutes too long. But you know what? It's a Friday.
It's been our entire coaching cycle. It's just kind of the norm.
The whole cycle's gone too long. You're right. Yep. It's an embodiment of hopefully what ends in the next less than a week. Fingers crossed. We'll see. Big playoff games tomorrow for the Titans coaching search, obviously, so pay attention to those. Keep it locked on AtoZSports.com. I got some written content coming today that I think you will enjoy. Some Matt Nagy stuff coming this weekend. Some McDaniel stuff coming this weekend. Some ranking coaching openings coming this weekend. Maybe even some giant breaking news in the next couple days, couple weeks. How's that for a tease? I don't know when it's going to come out. Eventually, there will be some, so keep an eye out.
For A to Z, specifically?
Well, for something pertaining to me.
Oh. You're having another kid? Congrats.
No. I mean, I don't think so. I don't know. That'd be news. That'd be giant breaking news for me. Okay, we're done here. We done here?
All right.
We're done
Yep, we're done.
AtoZSports.com. Check it out. Be back on Monday with coaching updates, maybe even a finalists list by then. We'll see you on Monday. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the best weekend of the NFL calendar.